Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto Naruto Next Generations discussion. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about the giant bombshell that we had in the Boruto community, and one that's been in the community for a while now, which is the Otsutsuki God, Shibai Otsutsuki, and what the revelation and confirmation of this god means for the future of the series moving forward. We went from wondering years ago, is this Otsutsuki God someone who actually exists? Maybe it's just a concept, to actually knowing for certain that the god is out there and his body's been left behind somewhere on Earth, which brings me to the topic of today's video. Shibai Otsutsuki is not the only one. There's one more Otsutsuki out there, and we're going to learn about that Otsutsuki in the future, and I'm going to explain to you why that is in this video. Longtime viewers of the channel know that I've said for a minute now that there were 6 Otsutsuki who have been in our region, and that includes the planet Earth in manga format. There were 6 tablets on the wall in Ishiki's 10 Tails dimension. There were 6 throne chairs in Ishiki's dimension where Kashi and Koji confronted Jigen, and each chair had the Rinne Sharingan on it, just like the Rinne Sharingan that was located in Ishiki's dimension where the 10 Tails was kept. As I said in the older video, those 6 chairs were specifically meant for 6 Otsutsuki who stood amongst all the other Otsutsuki that went in different planets to harvest, and that room was some type of a gathering place for them. Up until this point, we were shown that there were 4 tablets in Ishiki's dimension that possess holograms for Otsutsuki who we know have come to Earth: Momoshiki and Kenshiki, Kaguya and Ishiki. However, we now know that a 5th Otsutsuki exists, which is Shibai Otsutsuki, and since his body's been left behind, presumably on Earth, since Amato had access to the body, then we can now assume that Shibai is the 5th of the 6 different markers. However, you might be wondering, well, what about the 6th marker? What about the 6th chair? Who is that? Well, we've been told that the Otsutsuki clan move in pairs, basically teams of 2, with one member being the lower ranked member and the other being a higher ranked member. The lower ranking one of the 2 is the one who gets fed to the 10 Tails after they find a suitable host to implant their karma seal onto, and after they've been fed to the 10 Tails, their karma extracts their DNA into the host of their vessel and they come back to life. Well, there's a couple things that we need to keep in mind here based off the information we were given from Amato, which points us into the direction of there being a 2nd Otsutsuki. We were told that Shibai Otsutsuki underwent revival through implanting karma and eating chakra fruits. While we know all Otsutsuki can plant a karma onto a target, the practice of karma was used for 2 primary reasons, both of which come down to selecting the proper target to receive the karma in order to avoid a Jigen situation where one revives into a body that can't contain the chakra and the new body dies before the karma can be placed onto a proper body that is compatible with karma. While we don't know what makes somebody compatible with karma, we know that Jigen killed well over 10 children looking for somebody in the form of Kawaki who could take that karma seal. The 2 reasons why karma was used is number 1, to have a backup of the Otsutsuki in case they ever ran into a situation where they were killed, and the other circumstance where karma was used is when the lower rank Otsutsuki was to be fed to the 10 Tails so they can begin harvesting the chakra of that planet to produce a chakra fruit, which is made up of all the genetic material of that planet. Based off of Momoshiki and Ishiki's actions, neither of them expected to be killed, and there were no other karmas placed on creatures on other planets prior to this, because when Kaguya betrayed Ishiki, he wouldn't have been so desperate to find any random person to place the karma seal onto him to survive, because he would have just revived into another body if that was the case. The same when it comes to Momoshiki. Even if he took special interest in Boruto, if he had other karmas out there, he would have revived into another body and wouldn't have made a big deal later on when Kawaki killed Boruto. Where you at Momoshiki's state, he didn't want his soul to be extinguished like Ishiki, implying that this was his only vessel and that Momoshiki never had another vessel with his karma seal on any other planets. This brings us to Shibai Otsutsuki. It was said he revived multiple times via karma. That means 1, he was killed multiple times, which I doubt any of us believe is possible given how insanely powerful you have to be just to kill an Otsutsuki. Or number 2, that means he was the lower ranked of the Otsutsuki pair that he traveled into before he was someone who ascended to godhood. And given that we know that one out of the two is meant to be sacrificed to the Ten Tails and the others was meant to watch over the Ten Tails until the harvesting of genetic material of the planet was done. However, there's also a third reason, which goes back to things that we were already told in Boruto's manga previously. Shibai Otsutsuki was definitely part of a pair. That much is clear as we previously laid out. The clan operates in that manner for people who harvest chakra fruits, and a partner would be the final of the 6 tablets that we saw of the Otsutsuki who visit our planet, and the 6th chair in the throne room, because again, 3 pairs of 2. However, we also know, based on Kinshiki's wording earlier on in the manga, that one method of transferring power in the clan is to allow oneself to be transformed into a chakra fruit and then be consumed by their partner. Kinshiki specifically says that his mentor did it for him once before, and he's saying it's his honor to do the same for Momoshiki. Based on this information, we can conclude that Shibai's partner might have done a similar action, allowing himself to be consumed by Shibai depending on the situation they were in, which resulted in that partner ceasing to exist, just as Kinshiki ceased to exist. I don't think it's crazy at all that a partner was consumed by Shibai, and this would explain why he was forced to use karma to revive himself multiple times, because if he wasn't the lower ranked of the two, then he would have to do what Ishiki planned to do with Jigen. Feed Jigen to the Ten Tails and revive into Kawaki's body, which means Shibai had to do a similar method due to operating alone. Based off what we were told in the past in manga format, which I'm going to restate, this is strictly in manga format. We can conclude that the chakra fruit being harvested might have been shared between the two Otsutsuki, because there's nothing saying in the manga format that only one of them consumed the chakra fruit, and Amato in the manga did have a hypothesis that Kaguya wanted the fruit for herself. Maybe only the higher rank of the two ate the chakra fruit, but there's an absence of proof stating that this is the case. Nothing definitively has been said that this is actually the case when you read the manga. And given the boost in power that comes from consuming a chakra fruit, it makes sense if on a lesser scale that you have a couple of chakra fruits made when a planet's genetic material was consumed by the Ten Tails, or one chakra fruit was harvested, which I think is more likely, and the two Otsutsuki just went back and forth between who eats the chakra fruits on each planet, or they split the chakra fruit between the two. What this would imply is that Kaguya just said, I'm not sharing anymore. Regardless, there's enough here to come to the conclusion there was a partner for Shibai Otsutsuki at some point, given that in universe Amato has already told Naruto and company, and they've seen for themselves that the Otsutsuki whose goal is to harvest a chakra fruit, they typically come in pairs. The next natural conclusion is to ask what happened to Shibai's partner, which is where we could get that answer. Given that Kinshiki, despite being consumed by Momoshiki, still had a hologram, it stands to reason that Shibai and his partner would appear out of a hologram too, but that brings us to, why are the markers damaged? I previously thought the markers were gonna go through some wonky method of chakra, basically restructuring once the chakra from the two missing Otsutsuki appeared in our sector. Since chakra resonates and we've seen chakra do strange, unexplained things in the Naruto universe, but given we know Shibai's body is potentially here on Earth, and if we operate under the belief that he consumed the genetic material of his partner at some point, we can take this situation a little bit differently. He was said to have transcended beyond this dimension, which would apply to that partner who is now part of his genetic makeup, which would explain why both markers were destroyed, because Shibai is no longer in this dimension and exists in a higher plane, and since he consumed his partner, that marker would likely be altered like his own. If we operate under the assumption that since he exists on a higher plane, that marker has been restructured. Even if parts of this end up being totally incorrect, it still has enough wiggle room here to say that there's another partner who existed at one point in the story. Though I'm curious to know you guys' thoughts on this. Do you think that Shibai Otsutsuki had a partner? While you think that over, click here to watch my Black Clover chapter review, or click here for this Naruto Explained video.